It's not 5 o'clock, and they don't care. Welcome to Wine to 5. Entertainment, education, and everyday drinking for everyday people. Your hosts are Valerie Caruso and Stephanie Davis, two wine educators who don't need a clock to know when to pour that next glass.
Well, in this episode, we are deep into Merlot month, hashtag Merlot month, sweaters and fall flavors. And for those who are wondering what hashtag Merlot month is, we've mentioned it before.
Yeah, and every October since 2015, so way back in our season 1 of this episode, Val and I have enjoyed participating in the Merlot movement, either talking about it on the show or drinking it. And you can celebrate too, you know. Go to the merlotme.com website. You can check out their videos. They've got ideas. But most of all, use the hashtag MerlotMe to bring attention to this really spectacular grape. I mean, just the other night, Justin and I were drinking a Duckhorn, and he goes, "I love Merlot." You know? It's true. It's so true. And speaking of Merlot, I do have some Merlot in my glass today.
Wow.
I know. This time I opened up the Chateau Tessenday, and this is a 2015, right? So that was a really good year for Bordeaux wines. And this one is from Fronsac, primarily Merlot, and then a little bit of Cabernet Franc. Again, from Weekly Tasting by Laura Manick, picking out, selecting these wines and putting them all together so you can taste them side by side. Last episode, I was also drinking a wine from Right Bank of Bordeaux. This one, though, is much more spicy.
Ooh.
Yeah, and like a cranberry crunchiness that I like. So I think it goes really good for like the fall flavors.
Well, speaking of spicy stuff, I don't have wine today, but I was enjoying one of those weekly tasting wines last week. I'm having a 2018 vintage Fall and Stormy.
Oh, that's a fun name.
Yeah, I call it a Fall and Stormy because I don't know what to call things that I create in my glass, so I make things up as I go. But what this is, it's kind of a riff on Dark and Stormy. I used Trader Joe's Ginger Brew. We had this big bomber of it laying around, if you can call it a bomber. We had some pumpkin spice apple cider that we found at the Sprouts Market, and I couldn't resist it. And I I put in 2 ounces of dark rum. And I actually use good rum because we only have sipping rum.
Yeah, good rum makes good drinks.
I use the Angostura rum. But I use the Angostura rum and a squeeze of lime, and then I stirred it with a cocktail spoon, and I added wedges of candied orange and candied lemon slices, also from Trader Joe's. I don't know if you've seen them. They're flat.
Yes, you told me about them, and I bought them, and like Chris and Janet were like, "Where did you get those? Those are so cool."
They are fun for cocktails. They're fun to finish off desserts. They're decorative on a plate. And I love to like gnaw on them when I'm cleaning up afterwards and doing dishes. And they are sweet. And I don't typically like do a lot of sugar. So this is a sweet drink. It probably could do with some ice, but you all know how I feel about ice. So there's no ice in this drink, but I gave it a stir and it's going down so well. I have to say, this would be like a good punch. It reminds me of like an apple cider, like a wassail.
And make a big batch.
Yeah, you could do like a big batch of it, put it in a pitcher with those slices, and it would be like the best fall punch.
Good idea.
Yeah, and that's where we're going today with our discussion, right, Steph?
Yes, because it is fall. And I want to know, so what are you thinking of at this time of year? I mean, what changes in your world and what are you like looking forward to?
Well, I've been looking forward to fall since March, and it's my favorite time of year. Much to my husband's chagrin. He goes, "Time's going so fast." I said, "I don't want it to go fast. I just want fall to be here all year round." But I love sweater weather stuff. I love the colors. I love how blue the sky is, especially in Colorado this time of year.
Yeah.
The sun is lower. It has this beautiful light that happens in the morning as the day warms up. It's still like 40-something degrees. And then as the sun sets in the evening, that cool, longer shadows before dinner time. The hot beverages. I mean, I love a hot beverage. Pears, apples, the flavors of chestnuts and squash. And of course, if it's got pumpkin in it, it's one of my favorite ingredients. I don't know about you, but I've actually made pasta dough with pumpkin and flour.
Oh,
no eggs.
Wow.
It is so easy. so meditative to get your hands in that dough and roll out that dough. I actually made it over the summer when it was a cooler day. I put pumpkin in pancake batter. It makes a great pancake batter, breads, cookies. I even make a pasta sauce.
You could put it in your
oatmeal.
Yeah.
Yes, I put it in oatmeal. I just put some pumpkin spice applesauce in my oatmeal yesterday. And I even use pumpkin to make a pasta sauce. And I put sage and sausage in it.
Yes. I think you gave me that recipe when we first met. And like we were talking about something and you gave me that recipe. I'm pretty sure of it because I do have a killer recipe of that. And I've made it a few times.
Did I make it for you when you came down, like one of the first times?
You might have. And then you gave me the copy of the recipe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So fall flavors. What about you?
Well, I also I have a sweater on now. I love to wear sweaters. And that's also one of the reasons why I like to travel this time of year, too. To travel to Europe and things. It's fun when it's cooler and you just kind of bundle up and you wear the same jacket, maybe the same sweater every single day. That's okay. I also like putting up a fall wreath and kind of getting, into that because I have a cool wreath that's got orange poinsettias and a lot of orange sparkly and browns in it. And so going to probably get that wreath out today or tomorrow. I'm so excited. That's also something I love. But in my household, we do a lot of football. So it's a lot of Saturday college games, Sunday NFL games. We've got a whiskey tasting coming up in 2 weeks at a friend's house, which I'm really looking forward to trying some new whiskeys and kind of introducing that into our repertoire. I have a food truck, an Italian food truck coming here that we're going to have these hot Italian piadina sandwiches. So that's going to be coming up in October. And I just think that it's a great time to get together with people before the holidays come,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like people are looking for some of that nurturing, good feeling time with food that warms your heart, drinks that are warm. I like warm drinks all day this time of year.
Yeah, I do too. And when I used to do my client appreciation events, I would do them in early November before all the holiday calendars start filling up, because the one thing you don't want to add is one more thing to somebody's calendar.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I get, when I was military, we had to go to so much stuff. I called it mandatory fun. And so I actually celebrate oh God, Christmas parties 2 nights in a row, and it's just.
Yeah. The whole entire month of December is like that.
I don't want to do it. I don't have to do it anymore. So it's no, I want to sit in front of my fireplace. I want to drink some whiskey and maybe some bourbon apple cider and eat spicy, warm foods, wet foods. Lots of thyme and rosemary and just everything spiced and all that is nice.
Everything's spiced. Yes, everything.
And it's all nice.
It is nice. And I really like even some of those spiced cakes.
Oh, yeah.
Or spiced muffins, so all of that stuff. But these wines that have really generous amounts of spice, aromas and flavors like the one I'm drinking, it just makes me think, okay, I'll probably be drinking a little bit more of that this coming months,
Yeah, and even those richer, more fuller-bodied red wines. We talk about this every single year. And for those of you that haven't clicked us off yet, you know that we're fans of in front of the fire and a nice Brunello or a nice rich Amarone in front of the fire. We're also fans of the whiskey and the toddies. We did an episode on those.
And sherry, too.
Sherry. Good God, yes, sherry.
Some soup.
And all of those things.
Right? Soup and sherry. Those go well together.
A lot of people, sherry and Madeira both, the drier styles are amazing with a bisque. If you've got a pumpkin bisque or some kind of squash bisque, butternut squash bisque, you can serve it in half of an acorn squash as a bowl. And then you serve a tiny little cordial of a nice Fino sherry or Amontillado sherry even, or one of those drier Madeiras. Like a Cercial Madeira or a Verdejo Madeira. It is divine. And you had that white port. Wasn't that a dry white port? That dry chip white port?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great with a fall soup, Steph?
That could be good too. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things to experiment with. Don't be scared. just do something a little outside of your box with the food and the wine and the cocktails, and have fun with all these different, spank some thyme.
Spank some sage.
Spank it and then put it in your cocktail and have a fun. Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know what you're talking or what you're laughing about, but anyway, I think that goes on to what other kind of fall cocktail creations are you going to be making?
I really rely heavily on the whiskey. Mm-hmm. So I've seen some like Scotch and apple cider, bourbon apple cider. That maple thing I make every single year with the sprig of rosemary in it. That is my go-to. And I was looking for pictures and ideas for a cocktail, and I kept finding all these pictures of that bourbon maple apple cider cocktail. When you shake it, it gets all frothy.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in like 3 different glasses in my house now. And so apparently I've made it every year since we've done this podcast. And every year it's different. The maple syrup is different. The ratios are different. I never make it the same. But there's something about when you make a sweeter drink like this one right here. If you were to put a sprig of something like thyme or rosemary into that glass, give it a little spanky spank, put it in the glass, because you're getting that aroma, you're getting the full experience of the cocktail. And then you get the warmth as it slides down your throat and hits your belly. And you can warm those cocktails up too. You can wrap your hands around the mug. You can get the whole beautiful experience of fall. And this is in the Northern Hemisphere. So I'm sure some of you in the Southern Hemisphere are like, shut up, it's summer.
Yeah.
We're at the beach.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, and it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why I got the chills, but I went to a meeting and everybody was ordering a glass of wine, and the meeting was at a restaurant. I ordered a hot toddy and everybody thought I was crazy, but I think, maybe I was like prematurely getting into fall because I had the chills, but I really like to try and make some of those hot or warmed cocktails. But I also like to experiment with some more Amaros.
Yes.
Just having that room temperature and just sipping and letting your mind wander on the mystery of whatever herbs and roots and barks that they put in them. That can be really good too, and help with your digestion.
Well, you mentioned that, and we were just talking about, remember I was talking about that Greek restaurant I went to in New York City, we were just talking about it. And one of the things that I remember from that experience was something called cardamaro. Have you had that?
No, I don't think so.
It's an Amaro made with cardamom, girl.
Oh, I don't think I've had that.
I've never seen it. I haven't had it since the restaurant, but it was one of those Amari that I really like the different flavors of Amari. So I'm curious if the listeners have any favorite Amari that they like as well, because I love them. I love the Montenegro. Mm-hmm. I love the Fernet. I love all of those things. Mm-hmm. And if I could get my hands on some Cardamaro, that would be good, because that would probably be really great in this little cocktail I have right now.
Yeah, that sounds like a good hashtag W25 challenge.
Yeah, just put it all in this highball glass. I forgot to mention the glassware, but it isn't a highball glass. But just put it all in there like a big punch, and we're ready to go. But should we talk about hashtag Wine25 challenges for fall and winter stuff?
Yes, let's do that.
Well, you found some really fun posts in our community because you're there a little more than I am. But I did see when I went in there yesterday, Lynn's Tahitian wine.
I know. Isn't that mind-blowing?
And I'm going to say from the Atoll de Rangiroa region, it's a blend of Moscata Hamburg, Italia, and Grenache. I don't know, is that supposed to be Italico? Or what? Italia is the grape?
I think so. Sounds like a grape gab we have to figure out for the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you talk about the other ones, and I'm gonna just consult Jancis's book here and see if we can find a little bit more out about Italia, because I don't know that grape.
That sounds good.
Yes.
For people who are not really into reds, I think it was neat that Mary Lou posted her 100% Marsanne wine, and I think there's so many nice fuller-bodied white wines out there that you could be exploring. Medium to full-bodied whites this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere. But I usually get into Chardonnay this time of year too, and Justin's like, what's up with all the Chardonnays you're opening up? But I do transition some of my wine drinking because it just feels different. The weather changes, and so some other things change too. What you drink, what you eat. And then Sebastian, he posted a cool picture of his tawny port from Kirkland. So from Costco's brand. I think that's really cool that there is no drink shaming on our show. You can drink anything from anywhere at any price point, and we want to know about it. We want you to share. And I've been buying some of the Kirkland wines really out of curiosity. I mean, they have such great value. And to see if you like their Pinot Noir, or I was at a party the other night and one of our friends said that he really likes the Kirkland Chateauneuf du Pape. Have you had that, Val?
I've not. I can't find it. I found their tawny. I do have that. I found the champagne because Master of Wine Charles Curtis said it's one of the best champagne deals out there. It's $19.99 a bottle.
Yeah, I've heard other people say that too.
So I haven't opened it yet. I just got a bottle to check it out. But there's no shame in the Costco game, because it's not that my wine purveyor doesn't get a lot of love from me.
Oh, and me too. I mean, I buy a case at a time when I go into my local liquor stores. So I'm very generous with my local purveyors. So everybody gets some love, man.
Everybody gets some love, and that is a $17 bottle of tawny. And for those of us that rarely finish a bottle of tawny, if you're going to pour it at a function where everybody doesn't maybe love port as much as you, or you're going to make cocktails or something with it, it's a pretty good port. A pretty decent tawny. It's a 10-year. I'm not hating on it at all.
I think that's cool too, and it reminds me that that's one of the things I want to work on a little bit more this time of year is some port cocktails. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot you can do with port besides just have it after dinner in a glass and call it dessert. There's a lot of other fun things you can do with port too. You know, finding a great value port is key.
That's a great fall beverage. He puts them in this glass too while we're at it. I'm just kidding. But I did find the Italia grape, and apparently this is an important grape.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, Val didn't know about it, but it says only very rarely used to make wine. So here's what Jancis has about it. So it's typically found in the Tunisia world of Spain. And now I do remember called Muscat d'Italie, Italia and Portugal, Muscatel Italia and Portugal. And in Spain, they call it Muscatel Italiano. So, yeah. So this is a cross between the Muscat of Hamburg, I believe that she mentioned in there, Muscat of Hamburg, and Bicane. So it's a cross, and it's been around since 1911, and it's apparently grown in Australia or at one time, and now is authorized for winemaking in France, but other than that, there's about 2 paragraphs on it, and that's it. So for an important grape...
Sounds like an obscure one, though.
Yeah, but it is subject to botrytis, which we talked about on our show before, too. So that's kind of cool. I'm sorry about not remembering a grape that harkens to the homeland and the land of my people. But it sounds interesting, though. In Grenache, so I'm assuming it was a Grenache Blanc?
I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tahitian wine. So, awesome, Lynn. I think she wins. She wins Wine to 5 Challenge for the year. You win.
You win bragging rights.
Oh, my goodness. A Tahitian wine. Who's had one of those? I haven't. So
me either. Well, should we move on to our factoid segment?
Let's move on. And of course, when we're talking about this time of year, most of the wineries are sending out emails that say they're like in the throes of harvest, or harvest is coming to an end, depending on what grapes they're growing. And a lot of people are in what they call crush. So as the harvest in the vineyard wraps up in the northern hemisphere again, because down in the southern hemisphere, they're like, it's summer, or it's spring, actually.
Spring, right.
But you know what? Also, when we talk about the harvest, I think a lot of times we don't talk about the olive harvest. And olive trees and vines typically go together in many regions of the world. So olive harvest is on deck next, Steph. And I know that you know that I have an olio novello or an olio nuovo fetish.
Yes.
If you will.
Yes, it's a bad one. Severe.
Oh, Italy. It ruined me for coffee, it ruined me for sheep's milk cheese, and it ruined me for olive oil. And every year I have to order brand new, fresh, green, pungent olive oil. I love olive oil more than I hate ice. And I usually go to Lucero. I just establish this every year. Whenever they do their olive harvest, I'll get the olive oil within like weeks after it was crushed. So it still really kind of burns the back of your throat in that really good way, really pungent, kind of cloudy because it's unfiltered, spicy. I order like the spiciest stuff they have. So in regions, as soon as they're done picking grapes, a lot of times they go into olive harvest. But meanwhile, in the winery, the wines are going through, either a maceration or a cold soak. Steph, we were up in Denver last week, and we watched some Grenache or Graciano?
Yes.
Graciano grapes. They're just kind of like hanging out in the bats, flies, the whole thing. And, like we're putting them in our mouths. And yeah. So that's going on right now. And then those things will go into tanks. And so fermentation's happening. Malolactic's going to happen for red wines and some white wines. All of these things can last weeks and weeks. And one would think that after that, the winemaker would be like, cool, I'm going to kick back. Is that true?
Not so much.
Not so much, because then they start clarifying the wine. They either do some juice settling and some racking, and then they go into aging. And so they're monitoring all that. So it is a year-long job. It's not like you can take a lot of time off in the winery.
And even though things might have settled in the vineyard, it's really like game on in the winery. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to add that speaking of what's happening in the vineyard, there's a cool new viticulture video from Guildsom that just came out like a week ago. Well, actually, as the time of this recording, it was in September. What I like about it is it covers the cycle of the vine, planting, training, canopy management, vineyard floor management, and then it wraps up with the challenges in the vineyard, and this is all in 14 minutes. So it's pretty condensed down, but with really good pictures and some interviews, and they did it in collaboration with Sonoma County growers. Totally recommend you guys check it out. I think it's got a great overview.
Yeah, I like that because I was there in early November last year in Sonoma County, just right after harvest, and everything was in the winery. And it was still, winemakers were so busy. So I'm glad they made this video. And like you'll see if you go anywhere in wine country this time of year during harvest, I mean, it's not just about the grapes. It's about a lot of things. But all these things go together, the food, the wine, and all this stuff. I just love this time of year. I never wanted to end. I want to live somewhere where it's fall all year round and colorful and just harvest.
Yeah, that would be ideal. That would be totally ideal. Well, is there anything else on your wino radar?
There is. And I saw this last week, I think it was, if not the week before. Master Sommelier Evan Goldstein has a new project. Master the World Blind Tasting Wine Experience. He's got an Indiegogo page, is it? What is it called? A campaign?
Campaign.
Yeah, it's a campaign. He's got an Indiegogo campaign. They are doing this really cool thing where they get these little bottles, these 6 bottles of wine, and you get them in a kit every month, and you don't know what the wines are. So what they do is they have like a little online app where you can taste the wines and you put in your notes and it grades it for you, and then it tells you what the wines are.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2-minute video on Indiegogo is so cool. So we're going to put the link in the show notes for you, but it's called Master the World Blind Tasting Wine Experience. Their goal is to start shipping in early 2019. We really are excited about this, and we've reached out to them, and we're hoping to have an interview with them very soon as well, if we can make the dates work. But where the hell was this when we were studying, Steph? Where was it?
Oh man, we needed that so bad.
If you're studying for the CWE, if you're trying to get your blind tasting skills, you're studying for a SOM exam, you're studying for the diploma, where the hell was this?
Yeah. Well, thank God that Evan's gonna change the world. Now you get to really learn how to taste wine, focusing just completely on your senses and not having any kind of judgment. For me, what the hardest part was blind tasting is that I would start thinking about, well, what do I know that my husband would have picked out from the basement? Or I'm at my friend's house and I'm like, well, you just start having these ideas that ruin your tasting skills, like of how you're going to approach it, because you've already come up with what it isn't, as opposed to getting this shipped to you. It could be anything.
It could be anything. It's supposed to be varietal typicity. And so I'm kind of curious how they're doing it, how they're getting the wine into these bottles. And they're going to be producers and varieties and styles of wine that you're normally going to see on a major exam. And I go through this thing when I did my blind tasting. I go into panic mode because I might have 4 or 6 glasses in front of me, and they all smell like nothing. I mean, I really have to zone in and center because it's like, okay, well, what can it not be? What is this wine not? So what we do know is the acid is low on it. So we know it's not a Riesling. It's not a Sauvignon Blanc. So you have to go into this process of elimination and get yourself out of panic mode. But I go into, oh my God, I can't smell anything. They all taste alike. They all look alike. And this would be fun to do with friends. We should do a video of it when it comes out and see how bad I still suck. It's just not pretty, but it's really good if you are trying to sharpen those skills. I can see a huge market for this in the wine professional industry. Can't you?
Yes.
Or even game night. It's a game night thing.
That's true. Could be game night. Oh, that's fun. That is so fun. And what else is fun is going on to our shout outs, because we have a new 5-star review on Apple Podcasts from Hilo Boy. And Val and I are really excited about this new review, and you'll see why. This is what he wrote. The W25 ladies do a fabulous job bringing a variety of content weekly that exposes me to wine philosophies, trends, and personalities that you'd never find otherwise. And they do it all with humor and genuine passion for the subject without any pretension and pomp that many other wine podcasts can't seem to avoid.
Yeah, no pomp on this pod, yo.
I give that a double yo.
Double yo. Thank you, Halo Boy. And if I ever meet you, I have a joke about the Air Force guy, the Army guy, the Navy guy, and the Marine in a helicopter. So remind me to tell you that sometime. But
I love that. Okay. And our next shout out is to WTSO, our show sponsor, who's bringing us these great Right Bank wines. WTSO is wine at the best price online, one at a time till sold out. Can't find it? Just ask. Seriously, just give them a call and they'll just figure it out. They have thousands of wines from all over the world, like the Right Bank with Merlot, to choose from.
You can go to your listener page at weeklytasting.com/W25 to sign up and get started, or just go to our webpage, wine25.com, and click on the link. It's right there. But we're going to move on to Patreon love so we can get this wrapped up. We have a busy night ahead of us.
Yes. So Robin from Girls Gone Grape, she is our Reserva Superiore supporter. Thank you, Robin. Auntie in Georgia, our Reserva supporter. Thank you. And our tenacious tasters, Jeff E. from the We Like Drinking podcast, Sebastian of Sassy Italy Tours, Jen in Maryland, David and Lisa in Illinois, Anne-Marie in Virginia, Lynn of Savor the Harvest blog, and Sharon in Florida.
I'm still sipping my cocktail. It's only half gone. This is crazy. It's not 5 o'clock and we don't care, listeners, because we don't care if it's 5 o'clock or not. It's right now 3:41 p.m. Meg in South Dakota, Clay in Arizona, John in California, along with Andrew, Aswani, and Kristen, also in California. Chantel is in Ontario, Canada, and in Pennsylvania is Mary Lou. Kathy's in Georgia. Chris, Janet, and Diane are in Colorado. Steve and Renee are in Illinois. Kathy's in Tennessee. Sean's in Ohio, and Ashley and Sarah are in North Carolina.
And our tastemaker listeners, David in Scotland, Carol in Kentucky, Karen in California, Chip and Katie in Pennsylvania, Serena in New York, Annie in Colorado, and Danielle. Go to wine25.com and click on support to show your support and find out more details.
And between our weekly episodes, you can find goodies on our website, wine25.com, or find us in the social spaces at Wine to5 and let us know what you're drinking for the fall season. So until next week, everybody, cheers.
Happy fall.
Thank you for listening to the Wine to 5 podcast. Be sure to check us out at Facebook/WineTWO5 and tune in next week for more fun and useful sip tips.